Hello, everyone. We're going to wait a couple minutes for everyone else to join, and then we'll begin. Okay, I think everyone that's going to join has joined now, so we're going to start now. To introduce myself, I'm Ryan Wen, and I'll be teaching week 2 of this Intro to Python course. So I assume last week, Andrew already told you guys how to set up Colab, Google Colab, and you guys already have that set up, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So this week we're going to be focusing on type conversion, operations, if statements, and else statements, as well as while loops. So first, everyone should get on their Google Colab that they already made, or they could make a new one for this week if they'd like to. All right. So before we begin, does anyone have any experience with this already or know how type conversion works in Python or other coding languages? Okay, I'm assuming that's a no. So so we already know how we can set variables in Python by choosing a name and using the equal sign to set it to something. So to begin, Python automatically figures out the type of variables, but sometimes you want to change it. So for example, if you do x equals 2, Python will automatically know that this is an integer. So if you want to change it, you could use parentheses with the new data type you want it to become next to your variable. So if I run this segment of code, you'll see if we do x equals 2 and we print x, it'll print out a 2 at first. And then we can use the type function here, which tells us the type of variable is. So it prints out class int. So it tells us it's an integer. And then we can convert it to a float type variable, which is basically a number with a decimal point. So if you print parentheses float and then parentheses your variable, it will convert it into a float. And then this is the same thing here. You can use it like it's a function. So you do float, and then as a parameter, you put in the variable, and that will convert it into a float variable. So you could also convert from string to integer. So if we set x here equal to string, a string 2 by using the quotation marks, you can do print integer conversion x plus 1. So that will give us 3, because what happens here is it takes the variable, which is a string, and it converts it into an integer. So it becomes 2, and then it does 2 plus 1, which is 3. And that's the same thing that's happening here. So that will print out 4. And next, we're going to talk more about floats. So if we set this x variable to a float, 2.99999, if we convert this to an integer, it won't round up to 3, but instead it will just completely delete all the decimal points. So float to integer conversion does not round, it truncates the float. So by truncate, it means it basically just cuts off all the decimal values. So as a result, you only get 2. You don't get 3, it does not round. And you could also change this to a string. And that will print out this string. So now we have set x to 5.5 as a string. And we can convert this string into a float as well. So see, it prints out 5.5 here. And then if we run the type here, the type of the variable x, you'll see it says float. But you'll notice here that we have an error here. And that comes from if we try to convert a string of letters like Justin here. So we set x equal to Justin. If we try to convert that into an integer, Python doesn't know what to do, because you can't convert a word into numbers. So we get an error here. It says invalid literal for integer base 10, Justin. So we can also convert a string to an integer. This. You can see if we set string to 10.5 using the quotation marks, we're going to set a new variable that converts the string into a float. So we print it and we get 10.5. And then we're going to set this same variable as an integer now, and that's going to print out 10, because it gets rid of the decimal points and just leaves you with the integer. Okay, so this is basically all there is to type conversion. It's pretty simple. It's pretty self-explanatory. So for now, I'd like you guys to work on these 3 practice exercises. They shouldn't take you too long. So you could just follow these instructions and write a couple lines of code for each on your own Google Colab. And I'll give you guys like 5 minutes or so to do this, because it should be pretty quick. And let me know if you have any questions. I can help you out. Okay, Jonas, sorry, I just saw your message. This, okay. I'll show you how to set up a Google Collab really quick. So go to your Google Drive. Okay, you also, okay. So to set up Collab, go to Google Drive, and then once you're here, you click New, and then you click New. You go down below all these options. You go down, hover your mouse over More. You can see there's something called Google Collaboratory. So let me know when you guys get to here, Jonas and Ethan. Okay. So click on Google Collaboratory to make a new one. And you'll see it makes an untitled Google Collaboratory. And then you can just kind of start coding. So for example, I could say like X and print X. Oops. You just click run and it should print it out. Yeah. So you can just start coding right away. You don't even have to worry about any setup. You don't have Collab. Okay. If you go to, let's see, connect. Okay, Jonas, if you go here under more and then you click connect more apps, and you click on this, you should be able to search up Collab. Called Collaboratory. It's called this, and then click on this and then click install. Mine's already installed, so it says uninstall here, but yeah, just click install and you'll be fine. Let me show this. Yeah, sorry. And Jonas and Ethan, let me know if you need help or need like a basic overview. Also, Jonas and Ethan, do you guys have some background knowledge of Python, or are you like completely new to it? Okay, that's good. What about you, Jonas? Okay. Do you want me to do I could do a quick review for you if you want. Okay. Is everyone finished with these practice exercises, or does anyone need any time? If you do, you can type in the chat and let me know. Okay. Do you want like another minute or two to try to figure it out? Okay. Is everyone finished with at least the first two practice exercises? Okay. Okay. I'm gonna go through because the third one's a bit harder, so I'm gonna go through the solutions for the first two, and I'll give you like another minute to work on the third one. So the first two are pretty simple. You could just do a single print statement, and you don't have to do that actually. You could just do straight up use A plus convert B because it's a string to integer, and that's it. That's all you really have to do for the first one. Because this will be 5 integer value 5 plus convert B, which is a string, into an integer, so it's 5 plus 5, so you get 10. So this is all you need for the first exercise. The second one is very similar. You could do it in one. So we want to get a string value of 55. So instead of converting the string to an integer, you convert the integer into a string. So you do that. So you convert A, which is an integer, into a string like this, and you add that to the other string, and that will concatenate them together instead of adding them. So basically just stick them next to each other because they're not actual numbers. I'll give you another minute. I'll give you another minute for the third one, and then I'll explain the solution. Okay, has anyone figured out how to do exercise number 3? Okay, I'm assuming no one has done it, so I'll go through the solution. This might have been hard because you didn't know if there's certain function that you need for this, but so what we're going to do is we're going to use the input function, which basically you set a variable to an input function, and when you run an input function, it creates a box basically for the user to type in and input a string. So we're going to set this variable decimal equal to input, and the only parameter for the input function is a prompt that you ask the user. So our prompt is going to be that's it. So if we run this, it's going to have a box that we can type in, and then we can type whatever we want. So next, you set this input value to a float. You convert it to a float first, and then this is the decimal value, and then you just convert it to an integer because you're trying to print out the greatest integer smaller than the decimal. So that would just be concatenating it, or basically converting it to an integer. And then that's the solution. You print. So I'll run through this and you can see how it works. So because of our print function, it asks us input a positive decimal, which is our prompt. So I'll do like 2.7. And then it will run through and print out 2 because that is the greatest integer smaller than 2.7. Is anyone confused by how this works, or do you all get it?
I did it and it said it's an error.
How did you do it? Did you use the input function?
Yeah.
Did you convert it to a float afterwards?
Oh wait, I just said it wrong. Never mind.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. Next we're gonna move on to operations in Python. So these are basically comparison operations. So we have the greater than sign, the less than sign, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, equals or a comparison sign, and not equals. So operations are used to check whether things are true or false. The result will always be Boolean. Yeah, I believe this lecture should be made available. Anyways, the result will always be made a Boolean, which is basically a true or a false. So a Boolean is a data type in Python, but it only has 2 values, true or false. That's it. So for example, if we run this, you can see print, and the condition is 5 is less than 4. So we know obviously 5 is not less than 4, so the result is false. Next we have print 3.2 is equal to 2. So you have to use double equal signs for comparisons, and obviously they're not equal, so it's false again. And finally we have print 4 is not equal to 2, and the result is true. So when you see exclamation mark equal sign in Python, that means not equal to. Operations can only compare 2 variables of the same type. However, floats can be compared to ints. So for example, 5.0 can be compared to 5, and this will return true. So this would be an integer to integer comparison, 5 and 5. Integer to float comparison, 5 and 5.0. String to string comparison, 5 and 5 again, but in strings. And Boolean to Boolean comparisons, which is, might be kind of confusing, but it's just if true is equal to true, return true. So obviously this is true. This is also true because false is false. And then float comparisons, it's pretty self-explanatory. This will be false because you can't compare a string to an integer, or you can't compare any data type to another data type unless it's a float and integer, or it's the same data type. So that's why this is false. For strings, operators will compare the reverse alphabetical ordering. So if you compare ABC is greater than BCD, you get false. If you compare Calvin is greater than Cabs, you get true. If you compare hello equals hello, you get false because the case matters. This is uppercase H, this is lowercase h, so they're not equal. And for Booleans, usually only equal comparison and not equal comparison are used. So you can set this equal to false, and you compare it to true, you'll get false, because active is set to false. Active is a variable, it's set to false. So active is not true, which is why the result is false. Okay. Next, we're going to move on to if statements. So if statements are used to run a section of code only when a certain condition is fulfilled. And indenting is very important to this in Python because it allows the Python to know like what part of your code is inside an if statement. So this is like the basic syntax of it. This is obviously not code, but if parentheses your condition, then you type colon and then you indent and whatever you want in your condition. So whatever you want to happen if this condition is true. So if we set money equal to 5 here, and we run if money is greater than or equal to 20, we print just kidding, you need more money, congrats, you should buy a new iPhone 12. If money is greater than 20, you can buy an iPhone 12. If money is greater than 10, you can buy this too. And if money does not equal 9, money is not equal to 9. So if we run this, okay, I have to comment this out actually. Okay, you can see because money is equal to 5, this is none of these are true. Money is not greater than or equal to 20. Money is not greater than 20. Money is not greater than 10. So none of this code here runs. The only line of code that runs is this print statement because money is indeed not equal to 9. Therefore, it prints out money is not equal to 9. If we change this to 20, you can see now these two lines will print here because money is equal to 20. This line will not print because money is not greater than 20, it is 20. And this line will also print because money is greater than 10. This will also print because money is not equal to 9. If we set this to 9, then none of it will print because it fails all the conditions. So we're going to do some practice. Well, we're going to do a practice exercise about using if statements and operations. So I'll give you guys, this is a little bit harder. I'll give you, I guess, 10 minutes or so to do this. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions or need any clarification. Yeah, Tim, this is the question. Actually, I'd like to talk about one more thing, and that's the else statement. So if you have a condition, so let's say if money is, hold on. Okay. Oh, I skipped this section. It's my fault. Sorry guys. Pause your practice exercise for now. I need to talk about this part right here, and also another thing. So you can also check multiple equations with one if statement or multiple conditions with one if statement using and or keywords. So if we set money equal to 300, we can do multiple checks in a single if statement. So we can do if money is greater than or equal to 100 and money is less than or equal to 200. So basically, if money is between 100 and 200, then print money is in range. If money is greater than or equal to 500, or money is less than or equal to 400, we print money is not in range. So you can use the AND statement to add multiple conditions to an if statement, and also the OR statement to also do multiple conditions. But the difference is that if you use AND, all conditions must be true for the if statement to run, and if you use OR, only one of the conditions has to be true for the statement to run. One last thing I should talk about is the else statement. So I could do like if money equals 500. And, there's something called an else statement, which basically is kind of like a backup code part for your if statement. So if your if statement conditional isn't true, it will automatically jump to your else part and automatically run that code. So yeah, about the else if statement, yeah, we'll get to that in a second. But for now, for this exercise, all you need is the else statement. So that's why I wanted to show it first. So if you look at this, if you run this, you can see, don't worry about this top part is from here. But we use this if statement. If money is equal to 500, we print money is 500, but money is 300, so it's not equal to 500. So this condition evaluates to false. So it will immediately jump to our else statement, and it'll run this code. So it prints out money is not 300. And the else statement does not have any conditions. It just automatically runs it if the first part is false. And one last thing, make sure you're indenting with the tab button every time you use an if statement or the else statement, because if you do this, Python won't know that this code is supposed to belong to the if statement, and you'll get an error. So you have to use an indent for each of these lines of code, so that Python knows that this line is the result of this condition. Okay. Now you guys can start this practice exercise. And I'll start the solution at around 5 minutes. All right, I'm gonna go over the solution to this practice exercise. So we're gonna have to use the input function again. We're gonna use two of them because there's two names, and we're gonna have to use two variables for that. So we have our two name variables set to two inputs. And then now we can use an if statement. So if we do if name1 is less than name2, then we will print name1. Because if a string is less than another string, that means it is alphabetically earlier. And else, we have our else statement, we print name2. And that's basically all we need. Because if you know that name1 is, if this condition is false, that means you know name2 is first. So if we run this code, so enter the first name, we could do like Alex. And if you enter the second name, something like Zach, it returns Alex because Alex comes before Zach, obviously because A is before Z. So yeah, that's the solution. It's pretty simple. And as you do more practice, you'll be able to figure out solutions like this like much easier. So next we're going to move on to else if statements in addition to if and else statements. Oops. So you can use an else if statement spelled ELIF, elif, as another check. So basically, here we example, money is equal to 11. Our first conditional is if money is greater than 20, print money is greater than 20. And then we could use an else if statement. Else, if money is greater than 10, print money is greater than 10, but less than 20. And then we can use another else if statement. Money is greater than 5, and this will print money is greater than 5 and less than 10. So you can have as many else if statements as you want, but they have to follow an if statement. So basically, they're kind of like a follow-up. So if this if statement was true, then it would not run these. But if this is false, it would move on to this. If this is false again, then move on to the third one. So if we run this, you can see it prints out money is greater than 10, but less than 20, because 11 is not greater than 20, so this is false. But 11 is greater than 10, so this is true. It runs this, and then it exits this whole conditional. If we set this to something like 6, you can see it prints out money is greater than 5 and less than 10. So it prints out this one right here, because this is false, and then this is true. So it will run this. If we do like 21, it will only print the first one because this is true. And once the conditional is true, it's done, and it just exits the entire conditional chain. This is the same thing. So an else statement is placed at the end of an else if chain, and a computer runs the else line if none of the other conditionals are satisfied. So we have an if statement here, and the if it's followed by an else if statement and then an else statement. So if this is false, it will run this, and if this is false, it will run this as a last resort. So if you run this, you can see can't buy anything is a return because our money is set to 3, and the first condition is money is greater than 20, so that's obviously false. So it moves on to the second condition. Money is greater than 10, that's also false. So it moves on to the else, and it automatically prints this. If we had something like 15, it's going to print the middle statement, can buy card, because it fails the first condition but satisfies the second one, so it'll print the second line. Okay. Now we're going to do another practice exercise. Actually, before we do this, I'd like to talk about a certain operator in Python. It's called the modulo. It's basically this thing. Okay, let's do an example. In case anyone doesn't know, the modulo basically just gets the remainder of a division. So if you use 7 modulo 2, the answer will be 1 because the remainder of 7 divided by 2 is 1 because 2 goes into 7 3 times with a 1 remaining. So yeah, that's it. Just because you're going to need it for this practice exercise. So I'll give you guys like 5 minutes to do this. Because I still want to get through the while loops part. So I'll give you guys 5 minutes to do this practice exercise. And I'll go over the solution in 5 minutes. Okay, yeah, your code looks good. Okay, I'm gonna go over the solution code now. So again, we're gonna need a to use an input function. So we have a variable response set to the input, and the prompt is enter an integer, and then we're going to set response to itself, but convert it to an integer. Because the response is initially a string. So because the input always results in a string, so you convert it into an integer first, and then you can put this into an if statement. So if response, when we use the modulo operator, modulo 2, 0, and we can print we can print this number is even. And if the condition above is false, then we know for sure it's going to be odd, so we just do. So the reason this works is modulo 2 will, if anything is divisible by 2, which means a remainder of 0, that means it's even, obviously, and if it's not, then it's odd. So it's as simple as that. Okay, so for example, I could enter any integer. I could do like this. If I put a 2 at the end, that means it's even, and then it's gonna know it's even. If I do any integer and we put an odd number at the end, it's odd. So, yeah. So the last topic for today is while loops. These are pretty like simple, but they're very useful. So we use them when we want to repeat an action multiple times. And there's different kinds of loops in Python, but for now we're covering the while loop. So a loop will loop through a piece of code inside it for as long as we want them to. And usually they have a conditional, just like a if statement. So here we have a variable set to 7. And then the syntax for while loops is very simple. You type while, and then you type your condition, no parentheses, and then you type colon, and then you indent the code you're trying to loop. So while num is greater than 0, print num, and then num minus equals 1. So this basically subtracts 1 every time. So as you might have guessed, this will print 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because the first time it runs through, num is equal to 7, and 7 is greater than 0. Yeah, 7 is greater than 0, which makes this code run. So print 7, and then it will de-increment num by 1. So 7 minus 1 is 6. So now num is 6. We'll loop back. 6 is greater than 0, and then it'll print 6, and then go to 5. 5 is greater than 0. Print 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, until num is equal to 0, and then 0 is not greater than 0, and then it exits the loop and it stops there. Okay. The next practice exercise is down here. It's to print every number from 1 to n squared. Yeah, I'll give you like 5 minutes to do this as well. Actually, I'll give you a couple minutes to do this. N would probably be, you could use an input for it. Because you don't want to have if you have an infinite loop, that's not good. Because it's just going to slow down your computer. It's not going to do anything. It's going to keep going forever. Okay, I want to quickly go over this practice exercise so that you guys can work on the challenge exercises for the rest of class, which is not much. So solution is pretty simple. First, you set a variable n equal to an input. So I'm assuming this would call for user input. And you could say input and then you could also set num equal to 1. So n becomes our loop conditional, and num becomes the number that we're manipulating. So we start a while loop. While num is less than n, we print out num times num, which is num squared, and then we increment num by 1, num plus plus. Okay, wait, num plus equals 1. Okay. So if we run this, if I do like 5, oh, okay, one more step. So you have to convert n to an integer. So n equals int n. Otherwise you'll get the error. So do this. You can see num starts at 1, and then it should be less than or equal to 5. You'll see it prints out the squares all the way up to 5 squared. So it does 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, 5 squared is 25. So I input 5 as n and then convert it into an integer. And then I have num set to 1. So it starts at 1. And while num is less than or equal to n, it will print num squared and then increase num slowly until it reaches the target. So the target value here was 5. So it would increase until it got to 5 squared. Okay. For the rest of class, I want you guys to work on these challenge exercises and try to get as far as you can on them. And they're kind of hard. They're not that hard. They're kind of hard. So Okay, guys, it's 6:30 now, so class is over. I'm gonna be teaching next week as well, so I'll go over the solutions to these challenge exercises next week at the beginning of class. So if you haven't finished, you could do it between class if you want to for extra practice. Yeah. Okay. Stop sharing.
Thank you. Bye.
Yep.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Do you mean a link to like the recording? Oh, the document? Yeah, I could send a link real quick. I think it matters. Okay, that's fine. Hold on. Here's the link, you can copy it. Okay. Okay, does anyone have any other questions? Or need anything? Okay, bye. I'm gonna be leaving the call as well. I'm assuming no one else has anything to ask. Okay, bye. See you next week.